The house smelled like lemon polish and old secrets. It had been 10 years since I'd walked through that door, and 10 minutes since I decided to burn her empire down. I found my sister's diary while cleaning out our childhood home after our mother's death. 8 years of entries. 8 years of meticulous documentation. And on nearly every page, in different variations, the same wish. I wish Cassie would just die. Sometimes I fantasize about her funeral. Who would even come? If she got in an accident, would I feel guilty? Probably not. The world would be better without her. My sister Victoria had spent our entire adolescence, from ages 12 to 20, documenting her hatred of me in careful, poisonous detail. And then she'd hidden it in Mom's attic, thinking no one would ever read it. She was wrong. Quick question before we start. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country below, and hit that like if you've ever discovered something that changed how you saw your entire childhood. Let's go. My name is Cassandra, Cassie, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I understood my childhood. I was the difficult one, the problem child, the sister who made everything harder. My sister Victoria was the golden child, beautiful, accomplished, perfect in every way that mattered to our mother. We weren't close, but we were civil. Holiday cards, brief phone calls, the kind of distant sibling relationship that seems normal enough. Until I found the diary and realized our entire relationship had been built on a foundation of her quiet, relentless hatred. Victoria is 3 years older than me. Growing up, she was everything I wasn't. Straight A student. I was a solid B student who had to work for it. Naturally athletic. I was clumsy and picked last for teams. Effortlessly social. I was awkward and had 2 close friends. Mom's favorite. I was tolerated. I knew Mom preferred Victoria, that was obvious, but I told myself it wasn't Victoria's fault. She didn't ask to be the favorite. I was wrong about that, too. Our mother, Patricia Morrison, died suddenly of a heart attack at 64. No warning. Just gone. Victoria and I hadn't been particularly close to Mom in recent years. I'd moved across the country to Seattle at 25, and Victoria had moved to New York at 23. We saw her maybe twice a year, talked monthly, but we were both executors of her estate, which meant we had to work together to clean out the family home in suburban Connecticut. The house I'd left at 18 and never really returned to. Victoria flew in from New York. I flew in from Seattle. We met at the house with a plan, 1 week to sort, donate, sell, or trash 40 years of accumulated life. It was awkward. Victoria was all business, making lists, organizing rooms, taking photos for the estate sale. I was drowning in memories. Every room held ghosts of a childhood I'd spent most of my adult life trying to forget. We should start with the attic, Victoria said. Get the worst over with first. The attic, where Mom kept everything she couldn't throw away but didn't want to look at, including, apparently, Victoria's adolescent diary. The attic was exactly as I remembered it. Dusty, hot, stuffed with boxes labeled in Mom's careful handwriting. Christmas decorations. Victoria, school papers. Victoria, trophies. Cassie, misc. Even the boxes reflected the disparity. Victoria had multiple boxes, carefully categorized. I had one, labeled misc like I was an afterthought. Victoria started on one side, I started on the other. 20 minutes in, I opened a box labeled Victoria, Journals and Memories. Inside, yearbooks, photo albums, certificates, awards, and under everything else, a diary. Not a decorative diary with a lock, a plain composition notebook, the kind you buy at CVS for $2. The cover was blank except for dates written in Victoria's handwriting, ages 12 to 20, 1996 to 2004. Hey, V, should I looked over. Victoria was on her phone, texting someone, not paying attention. I opened the diary. January 3rd, 1996. I'm 12 years old today. Mom gave me this journal and said I should write down my thoughts so I can look back when I'm older and see how I've grown. So here's my first thought. I wish Cassie didn't exist. She ruined my birthday yesterday. Mom made me share my party with her because her birthday is 2 days after mine, and Mom said it was more practical to have one party. So half the presents were for her, half the attention was for her. I hate her. I know that's a bad thing to say about your sister, but I don't care. Everything would be better if she wasn't here. I stared at the page. She was 12. It was her birthday. She was upset about sharing a party. Kids think extreme things when they're upset. I kept reading. The entries weren't daily, more like weekly or monthly, but they were consistent. January 1996. Cassie got picked for the school play. Of course she did. Now Mom has to go to rehearsals and can't come to my basketball games. I wish she'd just quit. April 1996. Cassie got glasses today and she looks even stupider than usual. I hope people make fun of her. September 1996. First day of high school. Cassie is in middle school now, which means she's in the same building. I saw her in the hallway and pretended I didn't know her. Someone asked if we were sisters, and I said no. I wish that was true. Entry after entry, year after year. Not just sibling rivalry, not just teenage angst. Active, sustained hatred. November 1997. Cassie got honor roll. Mom put the certificate on the fridge next to mine. Why does she have to copy everything I do? March 1998. Cassie joined drama club. That was my thing. Now she's ruining that, too. I hope she fails the audition. July 1998. Family vacation. Cassie got carsick on the drive, and we had to stop 3 times. She ruins everything. Sometimes I imagine what it would be like if she just wasn't here. Would Mom finally pay attention to just me? My hands were shaking. Some entries were worse than others, much worse. October 1999. I had a dream that Cassie got hit by a car. In the dream, I was sad at first, but then I realized Mom would only have to worry about me. All the money for college would go to me. I'd be the only child. Would that make me a bad person if I wasn't that upset if it really happened? January 2000. New year. My New Year's resolution? Find a way to make Cassie leave. Maybe if I'm mean enough, she'll want to go live with Dad. He's remarried anyway. He probably has room for her. Our father had left when I was 6, and Victoria was 9. He'd moved to California, remarried, had 2 more kids. We saw him once a year, if that. Victoria knew I was desperate for his attention, and she'd apparently spent time thinking about how to use that against me. June 2001. Prom by Jordan Williams. Jordan Williams! The guy I've liked for 2 years. She knew I liked him. She did this on purpose. I want to hurt her, really hurt her. But I can't because then Mom would be mad at me instead of her. I remembered that prom. Jordan had asked me out of nowhere. I'd been shocked. I was 15, he was 17, and I had no idea he even knew my name. Victoria had been cold to me for months after. I thought she was just being a moody teenager. She'd been fantasizing about hurting me. The entries didn't get better as Victoria got older. They got more sophisticated. September 2002. Victoria, age 18, me, age 15. Cassie is a junior now. She's talking about college. I heard her tell Mom she wants to go to NYU. That's where I'm applying early decision. She can't have that too. I need to make sure Mom tells her it's too expensive. There's not enough money for both of us to go out of state. November 2002. Got into NYU early decision. Mom's so proud. Cassie congratulated me. She looked sad. Good. She should know her place. I went to State U. It was a good school. I told myself I preferred staying closer to home. But the truth was, I'd applied to NYU too, and I'd gotten in.
Mom had told me we couldn't afford it, that Victoria was already there, and it didn't make sense for both of us to go to expensive private schools. I believed it was a financial decision. Victoria had orchestrated it.
The diary ended when Victoria was 20. I was 17. June 2004. Graduated college, starting my job at Goldman Sachs in the fall. Cassie is still at State U for 2 more years. I'm already building my life in New York. By the time she graduates, I'll be established. She'll never catch up. August 2004. Moving to NYC tomorrow, Cassie helped me pack. She looked up to me, asked for advice about college. I gave her the worst advice I could think of while sounding helpful. Told her to prioritize social life over networking because college is about finding yourself. She believed me. She's so stupid. December 2004. Home for Christmas. Cassie is a sophomore now. She seems happy. Good grades, stupid boyfriend, no real ambitions. Exactly where I want her. Nowhere near my life. This is probably my last entry. I don't need this journal anymore. I won. That was the last entry. Victoria had won. And I'd never even known we were competing. I sat in that attic for 2 hours, reading every entry, twice. By the time I finished, the sun had set. Victoria called up from downstairs. "Cassie, are you okay up there?" I looked at the diary in my hands. This was 8 years of my sister's internal life. 8 years of hatred, resentment, and active sabotage. 8 years of wishing I was dead. And she just, what? Grown out of it? Moved on? Forgotten? "Yeah," I called back. "I'm fine, just going through some old stuff." I closed the diary. I did not put it back in the box. Confrontation or strategy? That night, Victoria and I ordered takeout and ate in Mom's living room, sorting through old photos. She seemed normal, pleasant even, making small talk about her job, her apartment, asking about my work. All I could think was, "You spent 8 years wishing I was dead." I wanted to throw the diary in her face, demand an explanation, make her look me in the eye and justify it. But something stopped me. Maybe it was years of being the dramatic one, trained to avoid conflict, or maybe it was something else. Curiosity. How much of what she'd written had actually happened? Had she really sabotaged me? Or was it all just teenage fantasy, ugly thoughts that never translated to action? I needed to know before I confronted her. Back in my hotel room, I couldn't sleep in that house, I created a document. Victoria's Diary, Claimed Actions versus Reality. I went through entry by entry, identifying every claim she'd made about actively interfering in my life. The NYU financial decision, 2002 to 2003. Her claim, she influenced Mom to say it was too expensive for me. Reality, I need to verify Mom's actual financial situation. The prom date, 2001. Her claim, she was mad Jordan asked me. Reality, what happened after? Did she do anything about it? The Drama Club, 1998. Her claim, I copied her by joining. Reality, I had actually joined first. She joined 2 months later. The Shared Birthday Party, 1996 onwards. Her claim, she resented sharing parties with me. Reality, we stopped having joint parties after age 12. Victoria's idea, supposedly because she was too old for kid parties. The Worst Advice for College, 2004. Her claim, she deliberately gave me bad advice about prioritizing social life. Reality, I followed that advice. It cost me networking opportunities that Victoria had plenty of. I was executor of Mom's estate, which meant I had access to all her financial records.
I spent 2 days going through bank statements, tax returns, and investment accounts from 2002 to 2003. Mom had $180,000 in a college savings account in 2002. Victoria's NYU tuition, room and board, approximately $45,000 per year times 4 equals $180,000. My state U tuition, with partial scholarship, approximately $15,000 per year times 4 equals $60,000. Mom had spent the entire college fund on Victoria. But here's the thing. There was more money. Mom had a second investment account, one I hadn't known about. Statement showed balance in 2002, $95,000. Withdrawal in May 2003, right after I committed to State U, $40,000. Purpose listed on the withdrawal, down payment, Victoria NYC apartment. Mom had bought Victoria an NYC apartment while telling me we couldn't afford to send me to NYU. The apartment Victoria still lived in, the apartment that was now worth over $2 million. An apartment purchased with money that should have been split between both daughters. Mom was old school. She kept phone bills, paper copies, filed by year. I found them in a box labeled Important Documents. I cross-referenced the diary entries with the phone records. March 1998. Victoria's diary mentioned talking to Mom about Cassie joining drama club and how it was ruining her experience. Phone record, 47-minute call from Mom to Victoria at boarding school 3 days before Mom told me I should focus on academics instead of spreading myself too thin with activities. I quit drama club. November 2002, Victoria's diary mentioned making sure Mom tells her NYU is too expensive. Phone records, 7 calls between Victoria and Mom in October to November 2002, each 20-plus minutes. Then in December 2002, Mom sat me down and gave me the "we need to be realistic about finances" talk. April 2003, Victoria's diary mentioned she had won when I chose State U. Phone record, Victoria called Mom the day after I committed to State U. Call duration, 4 minutes. Just long enough to celebrate. It wasn't fantasy. Victoria hadn't just hated me in private. She'd actively lobbied Mom to exclude me from opportunities. She manipulated her into spending all her resources on you. She actively worked to make sure I stayed behind. Day 5 of estate clearing, Victoria and I were in Mom's office going through paperwork. "Did you know Mom bought you an apartment?" I asked casually. Victoria looked up. "What?" "In 2003, a down payment of $40,000 on an NYC apartment. Must be the one you're still living in." "Oh, yeah, she helped with that." "That's generous." "She wanted to help me get established." "Did she help you with anything?" The question hung there. "I mean, she paid for most of State U after your scholarship." "She paid for all of NYU for you. NYU was more expensive, and then bought you an apartment." Victoria's expression shifted. Not guilty, defensive. "Cassie, what is this about?" "I'm just trying to understand the math. College fund was $180,000. You cost $180,000. I cost $60,000. That leaves $120,000 unaccounted for." "I don't know what you want me to say." "Plus the $40,000 for your apartment, that's $160,000 more spent on you than me." Mom made her own financial decisions. Did she? Or did you help her make them? Victoria stood up. "I don't like what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts." "You always do this. You always make everything about how hard your life is." "Do I? Is that what I do?" Something in my tone made her stop. "What's really going on, Cassie?" I pulled the diary out of my bag. I found this, in the attic, in your memory box. I watched the color drain from her face. You read that? Every word. That's private. You wished I was dead for 8 years. In writing. Silence. Victoria, you documented your hatred of me from age 12 to 20. You fantasized about me getting hit by a car. You sabotaged my college plans. You deliberately gave me bad advice to keep me from succeeding, and you celebrated every time I had less than you. I was a kid. You were a kid for some of it. You were an adult for the rest. That last entry where you say you won because I'd never catch up, you were 20 years old. Victoria's hands were shaking. You have no right. I have every right. You wrote it, you hid it, and now I found it. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry I was a shitty teenager with ugly thoughts.
Not just thoughts. Actions. You lobbied Mom to exclude me from opportunities. You manipulated her into spending all her resources on you. You actively worked to make sure I stayed behind. I didn't. Phone records, Victoria. I have the phone records. Every time you wrote about talking to Mom about me, there's a corresponding phone call. You weren't just thinking ugly thoughts, you were executing a plan. Victoria sat down heavily. What do you want from me? I want to know why. Why what? Why you hated me that much? We were sisters. What did I do that was so terrible it made you wish I was dead? She was quiet for a long time. Then, you didn't do anything. Then why? You didn't have to do anything. You just existed. And that was enough. Enough for what? To split Mom's attention, to take resources that could have gone to me, to be competition I never asked for. I was your sister. You were a second child Mom didn't plan for. Victoria looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. She told me once, when I was 8 and you were 5, she said you were a surprise, that they'd been happy with one and then you happened, and everything got harder after that. The words landed like physical blows. Mom told me I was unplanned? She didn't mean it badly. She was just explaining why money was tight, why we had to move to a smaller house, why I couldn't do all the activities I wanted anymore, because you existed. So you decided I shouldn't? I was 8. I was a kid who just learned her entire life got worse because her baby sister happened. Of course I resented you. You were still writing about wanting me dead at 20, Victoria. She had no answer for that. There's something else, Victoria said quietly. What? Mom left a will, obviously. You know that. We're both executors, right? But there's a second document, a letter to be opened only by executors after the estate is settled. What kind of letter? I don't know. I haven't opened it. I was waiting until we finished the house. Where is it? Victoria pulled a sealed envelope from her bag. The envelope was labeled in Mom's handwriting, to Victoria and Cassandra. Read together after estate settlement. Should we open it now? I asked. We haven't finished settling the estate. Victoria, open it. She opened it. Inside was a single page, handwritten. To my daughters. If you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're together dealing with what I've left behind. Victoria, you've always been so driven, so determined to succeed. I'm proud of who you've become. Cassandra, you've always been so resilient, so independent. I'm proud of you too. But I need to tell you both something I should have said years ago. Victoria, I made a mistake. I let you believe Cassie was an accident, a burden. She wasn't. She was a choice.
Maybe not a planned one at first, but a choice your father and I made together and never regretted. I also let you convince me to favor you financially. The apartment, the college funding, the opportunities. I told myself I was helping you build a foundation, but really, I was choosing the easy path, supporting the child who demanded more instead of making sure both my daughters had equal chances. Cassandra, I'm sorry I let you think you were less important. You weren't, but I was weak, and Victoria was persuasive, and I took the path of least resistance. The truth is, I failed both of you. I failed Victoria by teaching her love is about winning resources. I failed Cassandra by teaching her she had to accept less. The house is paid off, $480,000 market value. Split it equally. That's the beginning of making things right. But more than the money, I need you to know you're both my daughters. I loved you both. I just didn't know how to show it fairly. I'm sorry, Mrs. Mom. Victoria and I sat with that letter for 20 minutes without speaking. Finally, Victoria said, "She knew. Yeah, she knew what I did, and she let me do it anyway. Until the end, when it was too late to fix." Victoria was crying now. Real, ugly crying. "I spent 8 years hating you, and it was for nothing. Mom didn't actually prefer me. She just didn't have the spine to tell me no. And I spent 20 years thinking I deserved less." We sat in our dead mother's office, surrounded by the paperwork of a life spent making choices she regretted too late. "I'm sorry," Victoria said eventually. "For which part?" "All of it. The diary, the sabotage, believing you being born ruined my life." "Did you really wish I was dead?" She thought about it honestly. "No, I don't think so. I think I wished I was an only child, but I was too young to understand that's not the same thing as wishing someone dead. By the time I was old enough to understand the difference," she trailed off, "it was habit. It was identity. I'd built my entire self-concept around being better than you, ahead of you, winning. If I admitted you weren't my enemy, I'd have to admit I'd wasted years being cruel for no reason." "So you kept going?" "So I kept going. And I told myself it was fine because you seemed fine. You had friends, you seemed happy. I convinced myself I wasn't really hurting you." "I wasn't fine, Victoria. I spent my entire childhood feeling like I didn't belong in my own family, like I was always one mistake away from being too much trouble to keep around. I know that now." "Do you?" "Because knowing and feeling are different." She looked at me directly. "You want me to say I understand how much I hurt you, but I can't. I can't understand that because I wasn't on the receiving end. All I can tell you is that I believe you, and I'm sorry, and I don't know how to fix it." "The house," I said. "Mom said split it equally." "Okay. But the apartment, the one Mom helped you buy, the one that's worth $2 million now, that was bought with money that should have been split too." Victoria tensed. "That was 18 years ago." "So?" "So I've been paying the mortgage, the maintenance fees, everything since then. That's my investment. Built on a foundation that wasn't. Cassandra, you can't seriously expect—" "I expect nothing, but I'm stating the facts. Mom gave you $40,000 for a down payment. Mom gave me nothing. That $40,000 turned into $2 million in equity. You've benefited from family money I never got access to. What do you want?" "I want you to acknowledge it. That your success isn't just because you're smarter or more driven. It's partly because you had advantages I didn't." "Fine, I acknowledge it. And? And what? You want me to write you a check? Do I deserve one?" Victoria stood up, pacing. "Legally? No. Morally? Maybe. But Cassandra, I can't just cut you a check for $1 million. I'm not asking for $1 million. Then what are you asking for? I don't know yet. The truth was, I did know. I'd spent 3 days researching estate law and financial remediation. If I wanted to, I could sue Victoria for her portion of Mom's estate, arguing that her apartment down payment was an advance on her inheritance, contest the sale of any shared property until the apartment advance was accounted for, make her life legally complicated for years. But I didn't want that. What I wanted was something else entirely. "Here's what I'm thinking," I said the next day. Victoria looked exhausted. She'd clearly been up all night. "I'm listening. The house sells for $480,000. We split that equally, $240,000 each." "Okay. But I want something else, too. Not money." "What?" "An accounting. Public or private, your choice, but I want you to write down, comprehensively, specifically, every instance you remember of actively working against me. Phone calls to Mom, advice you gave me that you knew was bad, opportunities you lobbied to keep from me. All of it." "Why?" "Because I need to know the full extent. I need to see it in your own words, in your adult voice, acknowledging what you did." That's a lot to ask. You spent 8 years documenting how much you hated me. I'm asking for one document acknowledging what that hatred looked like in practice." Victoria was quiet. "And if I don't?" "Then I take the legal route. I tie up the estate for years. I make sure everyone knows exactly why. I publish the diary entries. I show the phone records. I make your sabotage public." "You're blackmailing me." "I'm offering you a choice. Own what you did privately, or have it exposed publicly. Your call." The accounting. Victoria wrote the document. It took her a week. It was 12 pages long. Excerpts. Ages 12 to 14. I regularly complained to Mom about Cassie's interests and activities, framing them as financial burdens. I knew Mom was worried about money, and I used that worry to get what I wanted. Examples: convinced Mom that Cassie didn't really need summer art camp because she could draw at home. The truth was, I wanted the money spent on my basketball clinics instead. Age 15 to 16. When Cassie expressed interest in the same colleges I was looking at, I told Mom that it would be embarrassing if we both attended the same school because people would compare us. I suggested she encourage Cassie to look at schools that fit her personality better, meaning cheaper, less prestigious schools. Age 17 to 18. I researched financial aid requirements and intentionally gave Cassie wrong information about scholarship deadlines for NYU. I told her the priority deadline was in March when it was actually in January. She missed the full scholarship deadline because of me. Age 18 to 20. When Cassie asked me for advice about college networking, I deliberately emphasized social activities over professional development. I told her college was about finding herself, and that networking was something you do after graduation. I knew this was bad advice. I was aggressively networking myself. I gave her bad advice to keep her from competing with me professionally. It went on. Every phone call, every manipulated conversation, every time she'd smiled to my face while undermining me behind the scenes. She ended with, "I don't have an excuse that makes this okay. I was jealous, insecure, and cruel. I built my identity around being better than you, and that required keeping you down. I'm sorry." The question. "Is this enough?" Victoria asked when she gave it to me. I don't know. Ask me in a year." Fair. We finished cleaning out the house in silence. On the last day, standing in the empty living room, Victoria asked, "Do you think we can ever actually be sisters?" "I don't know. I don't even know what that would look like for us." "Neither do I. But maybe we start by being honest." "Honest," Victoria repeated. "Okay. Honestly, I don't know if I like you either, but I'm tired of pretending." So what do? We sell the house, we take our money, we go back to our separate lives. And maybe in a year or two, we try coffee, see if there's anything there worth building. And if there's not, then at least we'll know. That's better than this. Sold for $485,000. We each got $242,500. Victoria didn't contest the split, didn't argue about the apartment. We haven't spoken since closing day. I keep Victoria's accounting in a locked file on my computer. I've read it 3 times. Each time it hurts differently. The first time, rage. The second time, grief. The third time, understanding. Not forgiveness yet, maybe never ever, but understanding that she was also a victim of our mother's weakness, just in a different way. I've been in therapy for 9 months. My therapist asked me recently, what would healing look like with Victoria? I don't know if healing is possible. What would closure look like then? That was a better question. Closure would be accepting that my childhood was what it was, that Victoria was who she was, and that I survived anyway. Have you achieved that? Getting there. 2 weeks ago, Victoria texted me. The first communication in a year. I'm in therapy. My therapist asked me to write a letter about the person I hurt the most in my life. I wrote about you. Would you want to read it? I thought about it for 3 days. Then, not yet. Maybe someday. But I'm glad you're doing the work. Me too. Coffee in 6 months? Ask me in 6 months. Fair. The question I keep asking is, do I forgive her? The answer is complicated. I forgive the child who was 8 years old and told her sister was a mistake. I understand the teenager who built an identity around being superior. I'm still angry at the adult who knew better and chose cruelty anyway. All 3 of these reactions can be true simultaneously. What I learned. Hatred is a practice. Victoria didn't wake up one day hating me. She practiced it, daily, for years, until it became her default. Family isn't fair. Some kids get more resources, more attention, more chances. Not because they're better, because parents make choices. Sometimes weak ones, sometimes cruel ones. You can't earn love from people who've decided you're competition. I spent my entire childhood trying to be less trouble, less expensive, less of a burden. It didn't matter. Victoria would have resented me regardless. Documentation matters. Victoria's diary gave me something I'd never had, proof that I wasn't imagining the inequality, that my instincts were right, that validation matters. Here's what I want to know from you. If you found a diary proving your sibling hated you for years, what would you do? A. Confront them immediately. B. Never speak to them again. C. Do what I did, demand accountability. Or D. Burn the diary and pretend you never found it. Drop your answer in the comments. Second question. Can siblings recover from this level of betrayal? Victoria and I might have coffee in 6 months, or we might not. Is that reconciliation, closure, acceptance? What do you think healing looks like when family hurts you this deeply? And the big one? Should I have published Victoria's accounting? Some people say I should have exposed her publicly. She spent years undermining me. Why protect her now? Others say private accountability was enough. Where do you stand?